I'm Richard Randall. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with the host, Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, we're back with Barb, and Barb, with the rates heading higher, it's getting tougher first-time home buyers, especially to purchase a home. Why would it be more beneficial for someone to buy a home versus renting, even if this higher rate and higher price environment?
Well, Richard, I think that, a lot of people will put a lot of thought into it and they have to make decisions about housing. They're going to have to pay for housing anyway. So there's a lot that goes into it. Like, how long are you going to be in that home? Right now, I'd say the average homeowner keeps a home at least 10 years, sometimes longer. And but if you're like military, you're going to be in and out in 2 years. 2 years ago when the market was booming, you could make a profit selling a home in less than a year. Not so much now. So you have to be really careful about your planning on buying a home. But according to the National Association of Realtors, the net worth of homeowners is about 40 times higher than those who rent. Because you think about it, you're putting that house payment back into something that you own. So you have to pay for housing anyway. The balance of the loan is going down at that time, and you are building its value. Most homes over time go up in value. Now, it's just like any other investment. You can't 100% predict that, but over time, I'd say minimum 3 years is probably what I would target if you're going to be in a home for 3 years. It probably is a very good investment in this area because if you look over the long run, homes go up in value. We only really, going back to the 80s, we only had one anomaly where they dropped substantially. Well, actually, two. I take that back. The first was during what they call what they call it? The Great Recession. I think it was stupid. It was basically a mortgage meltdown because of what the government did, allowing people that couldn't afford homes to get loans. Sorry. I'm sorry. Did I say that? Should I not say that?
I think it's fine. I mean, it's the truth, right?
But it was the truth. People, you didn't have to qualify at the time to buy a home, right? So people were just going, oh, okay, I'll buy a house. And a lot of them weren't making payments or they couldn't make payments. They'd get a really low introductory interest rate. And then 2 years later, it would more than double. And of course, they couldn't fit that into their budget. But I think it was created by government loosey-goosey about lending. And then they took those loans and sold them as what they call, high quality mortgages on the secondary market. So that hurt the stock market. So if they call it the Great Recession, it was really caused by doing some dumb things back then, in my view. Anyway, but it can, over time, it can be real estate can be a great investment. So I've only been able to find charts going back as far as maybe the 80s. And across the board, the increase in value is gradually higher, gradually higher, gradually higher. The only major dips that took place were the Great Recession back between 2008 and 2012. And then really at the end of 2022, when the Fed more than doubled the interest rates in just 6 months, that did impact El Paso County down by 11%, but we made it up the next spring. So again, over time, it goes up. What all the statistics are telling us are that home values in the El Paso County area probably are going to go up 3 or 4% this year overall. I think the whole Denver metro area is going to go up more than double that. 8 to 8.8% are the numbers that I'm reading. And so at the end of the day, it is a good investment if you can manage it, if you can afford it. And so we're seeing a lot of creative stuff take place of people trying to afford homes now in different ways. They're getting family to help them with their down payment, or maybe they're qualifying, getting a family to add to their qualifications. I had one close this week in which the buyers were good. They were good financially. However, they decided to keep the townhome and get a bigger home for their growing family. That kind of blew them out of the debt to income ratios. So they just brought in a family member that, to add to the loan, and that worked out fine. So there are things like that that families can do to help other family members get into home ownership. We helped our son buy a house right now. But at the end of the day, it's not great to pay your landlord's mortgage unless you have to, right? The average single family home rent right now is about $2,500 a month. That's $30,000 a year. That's a lot of money, right? That you're giving to somebody else's benefit, basically. With a moderate appreciation after 9 years. So I did the research and said, okay, let's take an average price home that you buy now and you wait 9 years to sell it. It's going to go up on average 4 to 5% a year. Okay. So if you're taking a house that's maybe 400,000, in 9 years, you're going to be selling that home for probably 700,000, right? And that's without doing anything different. The payment stays relatively the same. The balance of your loan is going down. So all these things make it a really good investment. The average gain over that time, probably just in your paying down your mortgage without paying anything extra, is you put another 50,000 down on the house, making your regular payments. And the other thing that's kind of a not really a numerical thing that you can put to home ownership, but definitely an emotional thing, would be that you could decorate the house or change or alter the house however you want. Nobody can tell you, except for HOAs, which HOAs could tell you about the outside, but not the inside. You can make improvements that you want. You have more security. You have more stability because you're now a neighbor. You've got people living around you, that kind of thing. You wouldn't believe how many times I hear discussions about how people just love their neighbors, how their neighbors watch over their house, how they let them know if they see anything weird that's going on. I think that's really wonderful because it is being a part of a community. Landscaping is another thing that you control, not the somebody else, unless there are rules about landscaping. And another kind of uh, thing that doesn't have anything to do with finance, but there is there is an amount of pride of ownership that takes place for people that own homes. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to upgrade it or make it perfect. I've seen homes that were 40 years old that were not improved, meaning upgraded to the latest finishes, but were kept in perfect shape. I remember selling one. I call it my 70s time warp. It was built in the 1970s. She was the original owner. She didn't improve anything. There was no upgraded carpet. There was no upgraded appliances, but it was kept so clean and so neat and in such great condition. It actually looked like a brand new home, but we were just going back in time to the 1970s as far as the look and the finishes. And it sold for a premium because of that. So how you maintain a home is important. And a lot of people take a lot of pride in how they take care of their home. As far as cash flow is concerned, generally right now, it's going to take a little bit more cash to buy into a home. You can use that cash to buy down your interest rates or pay more as a down payment. But, after 9 years, you might have a $500,000 investment. You might have gone up in value almost $500,000, but you're not paying an extra $500,000. So there's so many things about home ownership that make it makes sense because you're going to have to pay for housing as it stands right now. And it's very important that you pick the right team to help you do this. It includes a lot of things. It includes the lender, your agent, who you pick for an inspector. All these kind of things are really, really important things when you make a decision about buying a home. We actually have a free report on our website. If you go to barbhasthebuyers.com and click on the free report in the green button under free reports, and the report is named Stop Paying Rent, and why it does make sense to buy a home if you can figure it out. I've seen younger buyers manage to save almost $100,000 to buy their next home. And I'm very impressed by that. It's not easy to do something like that, but they planned and they sacrificed and they got it together. And I think it's great because over time, that investment for sure is going to pay off. My name is Barb Schlinker. I am the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice, and the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb has the buyer's team. And we're talking about how home ownership actually beats renting. And next up, we're going to talk about some questions that you could ask your agent when you do buy a home. And as always, I love talking about my hot new listings. Richard?
We're talking, Barb, about giving the audience information so they can find the best agent to help the buyer find a home. So, what are some other questions that a home seller should be asking when they're hiring a real estate agent?
Well, number one, how much does it cost to use an agent? Normally, the agent makes their commission from the shared commission in the multiple listing service, although right now there's a lot of lawsuits going on about that. So that could change. It might cost you some money to use an agent. So you really need to know up front, they're not just door openers, okay? They are actually people that have experience. They should have experience. They are familiar with houses. They're familiar with things that they've seen in their practice about condition of home or areas that people like to be in or the style of houses that people like to be in. So ask any question you want. I think the more the buyer and the agent are communicating, the more likely is they're going to have a good relationship. Um, and it doesn't matter how many years they've been in the business. It's more about how many sales that they've had. So how many how you could ask, how much experience do you have actually negotiating for me? Now, what does negotiating mean? It doesn't, a lot of agents think it means getting the lowest price, but that's not necessarily the case. It might be getting the buyer that house, right, up against other competition. And I've talked to some agents, even some young agents that are really good at it. I had one that was just pumping me for what the highest offer was on a competing offer situation. He didn't give up. He's like a dog wanting that bone. It was so funny. He probably asked me 10 times, okay, but what's the highest price? Are they going up over asking price? Give me some information so I can make the best offer for my buyer. And of course, I couldn't tell him. I had to just say, look, you need to tell your buyer to make the offer, the best offer if they really want the house, where if they go above a certain number, they don't want to buy it anymore, right? That is the number. I can't tell you what the other offers are because then I would be violating my duty to my seller. So, and also, can you help, the agent help, or can the seller help? How do we get our closing costs covered? Because those are expensive. Typically, loan closing costs to buy a home, in addition to your down payment, could run anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000, sometimes more on average. You also want to ask if you can cancel your agreement with the agent. Many people get worried about being stuck in a long-term contract, but if you feel like your agent's not doing what they promise, you can, of course, cancel. So we've got all kinds of great information on our website. Barb has the buyers. Click on free reports about some good questions you should ask an agent. So you can go ahead and download that for free at barbhasthebuyers.com or give us a call at 719-301-3900. Richard?
Barb Schlinker is the only agent that I would recommend. And when you're thinking of making a move, she's the go-to and the only one. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Favorite time of the show for you, hot new listings.
Absolutely. I have a great townhome in Claremont Ranch, beautiful home with 2 masters, great lot, 2-car garage in the 374,999 that's going to be open right now. A gorgeous 2-story on Lavanya Place in Fountain, 4 bedrooms, beautiful, almost new home in the mid-4s, a fantastic townhome in Briargate in the low 3s at 320 on Smoke Tree. Also open this weekend, today, 12 to 1, 14727 Allegiance Drive. Up there off of Baptist, just south of Baptist Road, close to the Air Force Academy in the low 6s. A beautiful home, 2-story with the main level master out in Peyton at 720 with solar, with 5 acres, zone for horses, lots of barns. It's a great property. Also a fantastic home, a rancher, another house that would be fantastic if you have 4-legged family members with a barn and multiple outbuildings on a Cowie Way out in Peyton, 5 acres at 749, and then a spectacular home with amazing views on Arrow Creek Court in Flying Horse And I also have coming up a beautiful duplex and one more. We have a fantastic townhome over on Louisa Point. This townhome is perfect for the downsizers, and that home is priced in the low fours. To find out about all of our homes and all of our coming soon homes, go to barbhasthebuyers.com or give us a call, 719-301-3900. Richard?
This is your real estate voice. It airs every Saturday. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Remember, you can see replays of the show on Barb's YouTube channel, Barb Schlinker, or barbhasthebuyers.com will link you over to that, or listen to the podcast on all of the popular platforms like Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and many, many others. Thank you for listening. To reach out to Barb again, 719-301-3900. Barb, thanks for this, and look forward to talking to you next week.